the beam. It's time for Nerdy 430, the podcast where we talk about nerdy-ish movies for 30-ish minutes. My name is Tim Keck, aka the Critic's Choice, aka codename Equalizer 1. And joining me today, Kevin Bauer, my esteemed colleague, is out. He has a bad case of the didn't watch the Equalizer. So I brought in a couple of pals, a couple of old good friends to talk Equalizer 3. Can't wait. Up first, you love him, you know him. You remember him from our annual Die Hard podcast, or maybe you've heard his band Sea Urchin. Give it up for Matt Strickland, codename
Keck,
Equalizer 2.
Tim Keck, aka My Choice as well. Thank you so much for having me. Always great to be on the pod. I feel like we've really beaten Die Hard to death over the past few years. So now we can start our new tradition of every September 18th, we talk the Equalizer 3.
Yeah, we could just do a couple of the Equalizer movies, but no, we'll stick with Equalizer 3. Easily, I think, the worst one. Speaking of worst one, our next guest.
No!
No.
Oh,
man. You might remember him from Clear the Dance Floor, his show on Radio Free Brooklyn.
I thought Kevin wasn't here this week.
Hey, if you're already subscribed to this pod, you probably heard our little crossover episode. We did Nerdy for 30, Clear the Dance Floor. We posted that last week. It's the host extraordinaire, Colby Smith. Colby,
Timbo,
how you doing, man?
Good to see you, buddy. Happy to be here. So excited to talk Equalizer 3 and anything else that comes up.
We'll see what else happens. Now,
I'm not sure exactly how many thoughts I have on the Equalizer 3. It might be like nerdy for 12, you know?
But we have a lot of thoughts in general, so I think we'll be able to fill the time. Colby, Matt, you've seen this before, right? You've seen Equalizer 1, Equalizer 2, Equalizer 3. You're a fan of the franchise in general. Can I say that?
have seen all three Equalizers, yes. I would say I'm a fan of Denzel and action movies. I wouldn't say like Equalizer, that franchise is like top on my list or in the top 50, 60 action franchises. But if there's an Equalizer 4, I will watch it.
Yes, I feel like I'm in the same boat. Now, Colby, you haven't seen 1 or 2, correct?
Haven't seen them.
In fresh to 3.
I wouldn't say I was even aware of this series until Equalizer 3 was coming out.
So we showed up. I was a little late. It was my fault. And then we had a terrible cheese pretzel disaster. And we missed the opening 60 seconds, which I think Strickland said was like the best part of the movie. Just walking through a hall of bodies.
Yeah, the opening scene is definitely the high point. It never quite reaches those highs again.
Yeah, it's very cool. And I felt like we saw the coolest part and then just missed the bodies, I guess, which is a theme throughout this movie. Is not as much action, lots of bodies, and no evidence of how they got there.
Well, it also starts with one of my favorite action movie tropes of, maybe the last like 5 or 10 years or something, which is the action hero giving the villain a chance to walk away. He's like Denzel has it where he's just like, you've got 9 seconds to make your choice. 9 seconds, and then it's just like, it's such a thing, it's like they do it in Jack Reacher too, where it's just like Tom Cruise is just like, I'm giving you a chance,
Well, once you give them the chance, it justifies any amount of carnage that is going to come later, because the audience can be like, well, he could have walked away, but he's too greedy or too evil,
Denzel didn't kill him. This man chose to die.
I would walk away personally.
That's a thing, Colby, the 9 seconds thing. You probably didn't get this, but it's more stressed in the first one, less so in the second one. But the thing is, Denzel's character is, what's it called? Obsessive compulsive.
Oh,
that's why he does all the stuff with the tea. But he's like, has mental disorders. So he's like very obsessive compulsive. And that's the whole thing with the time, which only shows up in this scene in that movie. But the other movies are just like he foresees all the different things that can go, and he knows it's going to be 15 seconds. And then he's going to like kick that guy and then punch this guy. And then, so it's like that was sort of a callback to the earlier films of the franchise.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, this really flies in the face of all those memes I see on like mental health Twitter that are like, this is what it's like for a neurodivergent person to like be at a party. It's like Denzel is killing everyone there.
Yeah, actually, they're much closer to superheroes than to the handicapped.
Yeah, the myth that the neurodivergent are incapable of killing is they have it in them. You're born with bloodlust or you don't have it. Denzel has it in spades.
Yeah.
But I will say, just to close out this opening section a little bit, 9 seconds is like not enough time to make that decision. I think if someone was like, you have 9 seconds to make your choice, I'd be like, what? Like in the time it would take him to repeat the 9 seconds thing, like it would be expired and then I would be killed, which is maybe what I deserve.
And it's confusing because the person who's saying you have 9 seconds is an old man. And you're like, oh, even if you did know, like, I'm going to fight this guy, it's confusing because you'd be fighting an old man.
Yeah.
I think regardless of who it is, if anyone ever tells me you have 9 seconds to walk away, I'm walking away. I can't think of a single thing in this life worth fighting for that I couldn't just, I don't have a single thing here that I couldn't just walk away from entirely. If
not even my son.
Choice. Oh my, who gives a shit? 9 seconds? I'm going to get as much distance as possible between me and him.
Tim, you got to get a fish.
Get a fish, yeah. The last fish I had lasted for 9 seconds, and then it just went belly up immediately, took a tour of the toilet. And it's rocking hard. I do love I wish there was more of this, because in the first movie, I just rewatched it, there was a lot more with the time. And honestly, I have no idea how his timing thing works. He's like 12 seconds, and then it takes a little longer than 12 seconds, and he's like, I wish it could have been 12 minus 6 or whatever. That's whatever. I don't know. I don't get it. It seems like a fidget more than anything useful that he's doing. But I do love the line when he's like, the guy with the gun is a foot too close. And I feel bad for the other guy because he's not going to see his family again. Awesome. I wish there was more of that in this movie. It's the best part. It's what makes the Equalizer so cool. And it reminded me of like Sherlock Holmes with Robert Downey Jr., where he like breaks down the fight in his head. You know what I'm saying? Like before it even starts, he's like, I'm going to punch him in the neck. Then I'm going to punch him here. I'm going to pick up this corkscrew and slam it in his eye. They kind of took out that element completely from this movie and really just wanted to show Denzel living amongst the Italian people as one of them.
Well, that's the thing is like there's not much of any kind of fighting in this movie. I think there's like 3 scenes. There's like the opening scene, that middle scene where he kills all the brother and the spoiler alert, he kills a bunch of guys, and then like the climax, the ending climax. So which a lot of the fighting of the ending happens off screen, and we're mostly like with the villain who freaking out as Denzel's killing people off screen and he's seeing the remnants. So there's just not that much action in this action movie, which I think is one of the big flaws. There's a lot of like Denzel considering the peaceful life of the Italian coast.
I hate the bodies thing so much in this movie because they make you wait. There's 30 minutes between each action scene. Yeah. Right. And then you get to the end and you're like, well, he just has to murder a house full of people, and he's good at this. He sneaks, he's in the shadows, he picks up a household object, smashes somebody. But instead of seeing any of that, they just show a bunch of dead bodies and say, take our word for it. What you guys didn't see was something, it was really cool. It was all man. It was so awesome. I wish I could have shown you this, man. It would have been great, but we had to trim some time off and we couldn't cut anything of him just hanging out in the cafe. So we had to skip over this giant action set piece and get right to him taunting this guy in the street, which I think was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
It was not as awesome after the fact that we missed this whole thing. I was thinking when that happened, so this is it, as opposed to, damn, this dude is just straight up, because Denzel, it seems like he's on the side of justice and he wants to just kill guys who affront him, but he fucks with them. He like tortures guys, and it'll be like somebody stole from a woman at a store and he finds that person and like tortures them and like poisons them and then walks them into the street to get hit by a car. I mean, he's a monster, really.
I mean, that is sort of what I liked about like the opening scene, and like I do like that of the times when Denzel is treated like Jason Voorhees, where he's like a slasher killer, and it's like instilling all this fear in the other characters, and it's like you just see the carnage and like that he has created and left behind. I do think that's cool, and they could lean in more to that. But eventually you got to see Jason like chop some heads off, I can't help but thinking it's just because Denzel is, getting up there, and he just doesn't have, Keanu is like the only guy who can do all those stunts at his age,
Tom Cruise. I think you could get Tom Cruise in there.
Tom Cruise. Well, he's a freak.
Are the other movies like big on like fist fights? Like, are there like Krav Maga level like takedowns happening, or is it more like shootouts?
It's more like shootouts, but there's some fist fights like that in the first Equalizer, Tim, where he goes to free Chloe Grace Moretz. He's like, I want to buy her freedom, and then the bad guys are like, she's our best whore, and Denzel's like, you made he tries to buy her. Yeah, but then he kills all those guys. Like that's like there's some fisticuffs there, but it's mostly like I would say a shoot 'em up.
I feel like it's the fisticuffs are nothing a 70-year-old man couldn't do. I think it's a lot of him getting the drop on people and like slitting a throat, or like, someone throws a punch, he lifts one arm up to block it and then stabs him in the neck. Like he's not Keanu Reeves at all by any means. He never leaves his feet. He is.
I do wonder if the John Wick movies have spoiled us, or spoiled me. I think they have spoiled me. I think I am expecting a level of action that is just not that most people aren't capable of. Not only the star Keanu is just like a star who can like do a lot physically, but also like, the director of those John Wick movies is like a former stuntman. So the choreography is on point. Like it's very focused in that area where I think they've ruined me. I think they're too good.
Yeah. I mean, that being said, I feel, to me, the opening scene is amazing. The scene where he dispenses with the 4 like low-level mafia guys who are intimidating everybody in the restaurant was very satisfying.
That also has another action trope that I love, which is like the action hero who will grab grab a villain in such a way where he doesn't have to apply any pressure. It's perfect for like someone of Denzel's age. He's like, you feel that? That's your Anacostia nerve. And he's like, if I press a little harder, you'll shit yourself. I feel like there's a lot of action movies where it's like, I'm getting you in the exact right position where I can like break your arm with no effort. And like, that's I always like that.
Yeah.
He's what Steven Seagal wishes he was. Yeah. Like Denzel's sitting in that scene. He like doesn't stand a lot in this movie. And he still is like pressure pointing people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to go to bat a little bit for the sitting in the Italian cafe stuff. I definitely agree that like there could have been a little more action for a movie called The Equalizer 3. There was definitely more sitting and drinking tea than I expected, but it did remind me that like in all of the best Bond movies, like from like before, from like the first couple of actors, there's always a scene where Bond like takes in the local color of like whatever, like he and the Bond girl will like walk through the farmer's market, and they'll like, it'll be like their courtship, but it's just an excuse to like shoot the city. It's like, because it's like at the time air travel wasn't as common as it was now. So these were kind of like travelogues for people. And there was a little bit of that. It kind of scratched a similar itch for me, where it's just kind of like the movie does take a couple of chances to just kind of slow down and say, man, isn't it nice to just like sit in a cute town? And I didn't expect that at all. It was kind of a pleasant surprise to me.
Did you think, Colby, the movie was... Do you think Denzel was like funny in this? Because they got laughs in the theater. He got laughs for a lot of stuff that I think if I was watching at home, I don't know if I would have picked up on.
I don't think I would have either. And I think it's just all in his like acting choices. Yeah. Like there's the one that sticks out to me is when Dakota Fanning is like kind of like taunting him a little bit. And she's like, you're not in any records. Are you some kind of ghost? And he goes, boo. Says it in the weirdest possible way you could say boo. And I loved it. I thought it was great.
I mean, that is a huge benefit that this movie has, is like all the non-action stuff. It still has Denzel, who's like his own special effect because he's fucking Denzel. He's just so good. Like he can do shit like that. So he does make he makes a lot of stuff that might be boring if it was a Hemsworth. Not might be. It would be boring if it was a Hemsworth. He still makes it, can't take your eyes off him.
Well, I was thinking about kind of like a counterpoint to this is Pierce Brosnan did a action movie in 2014 called The November Man. Okay.
Yeah.
And have you seen The November Man?
Yes. Of course.
I couldn't tell you anything about The November Man. This is a movie that I saw in the theater with like, it's a James Bond actor. I'm like ready to go in and just see like, this guy just like kicks some ass. I remember having like a fine time. I couldn't tell you a single thing about it, but I will remember like things about this movie mostly because of Denzel and like how great, like how watchable he is.
This is like the most like casual fun I remember seeing Denzel have. It seems like he is having a great time as an actor, just like goofing off. And I was like, I don't know if the director is like hanging him out to dry or if this is like actually good, but he just keeps fidgeting the whole time. Like if he'll keep riffing, if they leave the camera on him, he's going to keep riffing. He's going to keep like banging the spoon in his teapot and like taunting the girl. Like he's wild. It seems like, I think Denzel had a great time making this.
Yeah.
I mean, he got to go to that beautiful Italian coastal city, coastal town, which that's fun. And I do think you're probably right that this is like Denzel's playtime, because I think these are the only sequels he's ever made to any of his movies. He's never made a sequel before Equalizer 2, and now he's made Equalizer 3. And I can't help but wonder if he's gotten to that point where he's just like, all right, I'm going to get a studio to give me $300 million. But it's probably not that much, but a lot of money to just like go to some Italian villa. Like the next one's going to be on some Caribbean island. He's like really stepped up from Boston, which was the first one. And I feel like he's just going to keep making these to like have his playtime.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of the tiny Italian village, I wanted to run this theory by you guys because it seems like up top, he is living and ingraining himself in this community. It seems like that's kind of like the Equalizer's bit. As he shows up, he ingrains himself in the community. He makes friends. He finds people he cares about. Someone wrongs them and he defends them. He protects them. And he finds this little coastal town in Italy and it's beautiful. And there isn't a car in sight. People are like walking everywhere. Like someone's apartment burns down and the neighborhood comes together to support him. Like they celebrate their victories. They lift people up when they fall. It seems like the ideal, like small town, like walkable community that we all crave on some level, where we all find a place where we belong and we're part of a community. And then capitalism rears its ugly head in the form of the mafia coming in to build resorts, casinos. I mean, it is straight up capitalism coming in to destroy the ideal, like working class, like social structure. And Denzel Washington is the only man who can protect us from it.
It's very much
great analogy.
It's the exact same sort of like capitalism ruining the old West. Like basically this is a Western, right?
Yes.
Like the gunslinger comes into town and then there's the evil railroad baron who's trying to ruin the town, and then Denzel's got to like kill a bunch of his guys. And it's exactly like any of those old, classic Westerns.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
interesting that it's an American stopping Italian capitalism. Some smarter, leftist writer than me could figure out where that's coming from, but that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, if we're picking any person to stop capitalism in a movie and stand up against it, an American is probably miscasting casting that whole thing. Should we do some
but if anyone could do it, it's Denzel.
Yes.
Denzel's incredible. So beefs, things that we're beefing with. Did anybody have any like standout beefs of like I'm not buying this?
I think that it was a big mistake to cast Dakota Fanning in this movie because the whole time I'm just like, man, I wish I was watching Man on Fire. Like this movie was fine and it was pleasant, but like they're on purpose reminding me of a better movie.
Yeah, her storyline I think is also very lazy. Where he kind of just tells her what to do the whole time, and then she's like, I got it, and then they like figure it out. I don't know. That felt a little undercooked to me.
She doesn't discover anything on her own.
No.
She just repeats what he said to her superiors and then gets her ass kicked and then is in the hospital for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, I fully thought Roy from The Office was gonna like be a bad guy.
Yeah,
because they were like sort of setting. He like didn't really do much, and I was like, "Oh, this guy's gonna betray her." And then he just like he's like, "Okay, I'll take care of it," and then like goes away and never comes back.
Yeah,
yeah. Her whole part of it didn't need her.
A little weak.
What do you think about the organizational structure of what is it, the CIA that she's in? That she went from answering phones one week to being on the ground and in charge of operations in Italy the next week. Like that's not real, right? That's impossible. There's no way that happens.
You need like training to be a field agent. I don't think you get to like just jump up from like the phone service.
Yeah. Is there any way that they could have recreated their chemistry from Man on Fire? I mean, that is so specific, like an older man bonding with a young girl. It's like very father, daughter situation.
Yeah.
Could they have recreated that in this movie in a way that was convincing?
I was hoping for a little like he comes into the hospital room at the end of the movie and she's got like Blue Bayou is playing on the radio and he's like, oh, I like that song. And she's like, it's a classic, but then turns it off and then like the scene begins, so a little, I don't need much.
They could have given her like any personality. You know what I mean? Like her whole personality is like you said, just, oh, Denzel, you tell me this. All right, now I'll tell, I'll do that. There was no color to her as a person.
What about a scene where she's swimming and he goes and he meets her and she gets out of the pool, and they just like recreate one of the block sets you free or whatever. Like that whole cute bonding thing in the first one.
She could have gotten kidnapped at the end and could have needed to, like, she's being held captive in the house.
They do like a prisoner swap, like they did in Man on Fire. I mean, they honestly should have just made it Man on Fire, and it would have been so much better and good.
If you're gonna remind me of Man on Fire, like, just go all the way with it.
Yeah.
Just let me watch Man on Fire. If you're gonna remind me in any way of Man on Fire, I better get to see Man on Fire.
Something I really liked, it's a small thing, is the actor who plays Enzo, the doctor, has just like, he's just got a great face and he's got a great voice, and he really just like that's like a 70s character actor, from like a trashy movie like this. It's like there used to be all over, movies of this kind. I was happy to see a guy like that.
Yeah.
Enzo.
I liked him. My thief was, I really enjoyed the date that Denzel goes on with that girl when they go down to the market. Just that whole like fish market / family spaghetti dinner.
Yeah.
That whole thing. I was like, yeah, man, I want to do that.
Yeah. I want to show you the real food of Altamonte.
Yeah. I want to show you the real food of Ridgewood, Queens.
How do they not end up hooking up? Actually, it's great that they didn't, but I thought for sure she was more flirty up top.
Yeah. Ultimately, it's good. We don't want another entrapment situation.
I feel like that's one of Denzel's legacies is he just left a lot on the table there. No Julia and Pelican Brief. No Whitney Houston and Preacher's Wife. No Jennifer Beals and Devil in a Blue Dress. He doesn't like to seal the deal. He likes to stay a noble, dignified man.
He's a gentleman. He knows he could
get in there,
but he chooses not to. Is Denzel just like the most manly man there is? Like, not necessarily in like the Viking, like smashing wood and pillaging, but as far as just like being a good upstanding member of the community, it feels like he always plays guys who are like noble and have like a moral code. And he's like, something goes wrong, especially in Equalizer. It's like something goes wrong. He's like, a place burns down. He's out. He's helping them like remove trash. He's like picking up stuff. So he's watching out for the neighborhood kids. It just seems like
he's a lot like Paddington Bear in that way.
Yes. He seems like Paddington, just being accepted into the community right away. And if he left, like everything there would grind to a halt.
Yeah. I mean, Denzel's he's one of those guys,
Mm-hmm.
Except for, obviously Training Day, he's a bad guy. But
he's a bad guy.
Besides Training Day, he's generally like if Tom Hanks fucked.
Kind of.
Yeah, I mean, he's got like all the lovability, like America's uncle, America's dad kind of shit, but also like he's sexual in a way that Tom Hanks is not.
Tom Hanks has never had sex, I think. I feel pretty comfortable and confident saying that.
I feel like if he took off his pants, he'd be like made of wood, like a marionette.
Like
he's like Woody. He's like Woody down there.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's like a cotton pouch. My thief in this, I think I've realized that Denzel no longer cares about the action part of this movie, but thank God he still loves to stare bad guys down.
Oh man,
because it's every time. And I mean, this is something he gives the best looks at people he dislikes. I mean, the scene in the restaurant is incredible. And then they just like turn around and notice Denzel Washington has been staring at them the whole time. And he doesn't say a thing. And it is so funny and incredible and badass. I mean, he is serving looks left and right in this movie. And I'm here for it.
He's the man. He's so good.
He's incredible. Yeah. Have you guys ever had have you ever seen something go down in a restaurant and thought, man, I wish Denzel were here to just annihilate this guy?
I was in a bar fight in Taiwan and I wish Denzel had saved me.
Oh my God.
That sounds like the kind of place he'd show up in too. He'd just walk in and be like,
It was like a club.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's epic.
So, someone should have saved me. I just got a bottle cracked over my head and ran out with blood streaming down my face.
Oh my God.
It wasn't so much of a fight as I just got hit in the head with a bottle and I ran away.
Did Denzel throw the bottle? Because it seems like something.
Yeah, that was my problem. I got equalized.
Yeah. Your involvement in that Taiwanese drug ring, I think, really led to a lot of misadventures for you.
Everyone got caught but me. You guys have no idea about my past life.
There is an opportunity for a catchphrase in these movies that they're not taking, which is every time he kills someone, he goes, "You've just been equalized, motherfucker."
Yeah.
Don't say equalized or mention the name at all, I think, in any of these movies.
Yeah, it doesn't make a ton of sense.
No,
but
you would think that there'd be like at the end of the first one, like the newspaper, the morning paper gets like thrown down and you see the headline is like, is there an equalizer out there?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Overall, I'm like, this type of movie, I feel like is dumped on Netflix once a week, right? It's like there's like a middle-aged to like an older star in an action movie that is like shot terribly, is like so forgettable. And like you watch them, you have fun, but then it's just like they're completely gone. Like the November Man. The geezer teaser. But this, I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen the other two movies, but I was like, this was real. I had a really good time watching this. I liked that it's in the theater. Denzel is great, and it was not what I expected in a good way.
It's a movie. It's a real movie. Like that stuff on Netflix.
It's true.
That's not a those aren't movies.
They're junk.
They're just not movies. They're content. But
you know what I mean? Film. Like this easily, if it didn't have Denzel, like this would just be put. It would just be put there, like next to all that stuff.
Well, that's the power of Denzel.
I know. And director Antoine Fuqua.
I mean, he's
incredible.
He's
Denzel Scorsese.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
They've done like 8 movies together.
Yeah. Oh man, I just saw it. Training Day. What was the other one they did? The Magnificent Seven.
Oh, I saw that. That was kind of fun.
I liked that movie. Thought it was good.
Yeah.
Did you know that his name is actually pronounced Denzel?
Come on.
Denzel was on a talk show, like, I don't know, recently, meaning in the past, like 5 to 8 years. And he says it's actually pronounced Denzel, but no one, like, somehow it became Denzel. And like, you know, once that stuck, you just sort of stick with it. But it's actually Denzel Washington.
Denzel is such a cooler name.
I know.
Yeah. Denzel sounds like an elf that steals your shoes in the night. And it's like, well, you should have put your shoes away.
Careful, kids. Denzel might come tonight.
Denzel's got him. But
Denzel's going to tickle your feet.
Oh, my God.
That's
that
pretty
is
good.
So crazy.
Speaking of true facts, anybody got any final thoughts on this, Matt? Final thoughts on the Equalizer 3?
I'll agree. Worst of the 3, I say still worth watching. Happy I saw it in the theater. It's a real film. It's a real film, Jack. I would say, Colby, if you liked this one, check out. Go backwards. Go 2 next. And then hit 1.
Okay.
Because 2 is actually my favorite. Here's the thing about 2. I don't want to spoil anything, but I'll just say this. The finale, it's they lead up to this big action finale. Denzel versus the bad guys, and then for no reason at all, it's just also there's a hurricane happening. But it does not matter to the plot at all. It could happen without the hurricane, but they were just like, how about also there's a hurricane?
It makes it even crazier that this movie ended the way it did because the endings of the other 2 are insane and so much fun.
Yeah.
Wow. Colby, final thoughts? Equalizer 3, you're counting down with these guys?
Definitely recommend seeing. You don't need to have seen the other 2 movies to enjoy this one. Denzel is goated with the sauce, as is the actor playing Enzo, the doctor.
Enzo. We love him. We need him. Dakota Fanning. Wish it had worked out better for you. Yeah, I agree. 3 is good. First, before you watch 2 or 1, watch Man on Fire, and then go 2, 1, and just see the origin of this this whole layout. Guys, got anything you want to plug? Colby, got anything coming up?
Yeah, people can check out my radio show, Clear the Dance Floor, on Radio Free Brooklyn on Sundays from 4 to 5, and then the podcast comes out the following Friday.
Yes, I've been on a few times. It is great. It is fun. Love hanging out with Colb and the gang.
Fans of Tim will find lots to enjoy and Clear the Dance Floor.
And people that hate Tim will still be satisfied. Matt, Rock God, is there anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
I will say I can't divulge all the details just yet, but stay tuned for some big announcements for my band Sea Urchin in the next 60 to 90 days.
Wow.
Now, what are fans of Tim supposed to do?
Fans of Tim, I would hope that you can pressure Tim on Twitter to make this promise right now that once the album drops, Tim brings me back to talk about my top 5 favorite music-related films.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And the sound of music, the sound of music, the sound
Colby
of music
also appears on the album. So me and Colby should come back and talk about our favorite music albums. So it's text at Tim Keck. Yeah. At Keck. Yeah. What's your handle? I don't know.
I don't know. Come at me show@gmail.com is a pretty good one. You can hit me up there. And
that's not your personal. Drop your personal information, Tim.
I'll give you my address. I'll link my address in the bio.
They can email colby@radiofreebrooklyn.org.
Yes, for all your Tim related needs. I mean, I'm like I'm a Sea Urchin groupie, I think, you know. Go to the shows, flash the band, you know, try and walk away with a speaker if I can.
So
steal
just
some pics. Stay
tuned, fans of Tim. Stay tuned.
All right. Thank you all for listening. This has been Nerdy for 30. Tell one person about this and let them know that it's good and that they should listen. And, you know, we'll be back. We'll be back with future episodes. We're still doing this. Me and Kevin will be back on Thursday talking, movie tiers. We're ranking all the tiers, and it's going to be great, good quality stuff. I don't know how Kevin usually ends this, but stay nerdy, everybody. Bye.